Hello everyone, today we'll be taking a look at the Figma Styles Bikini Armor Makoto. This is Figma number 465 and is part of a line of original characters by Good Smile Company, the previous one being Figma Emily and her different versions such as the swimsuit, school uniform, and wedding dress versions. They are intended to be used to swap parts around and make your own characters, but the regular versions work really well on their own. I got this figure mainly to try out the customization aspects, but ended up really liking how it works on its own. But before we get into the figure, let's take a quick look at the packaging. This figure comes in a standard Figma box, with the main difference being how small it is. This is the smallest Figma box I've ever seen, but it's understandable due to how this is a pretty basic figure and there was no need for a bigger box. It has a window display on the front, and on the sides and the back, it has photos showing off the figure itself and what accessories she comes with. I really like the red color they chose for this box, it fits the character well. Moving on to the figure itself, Makoto has a pretty simple design, but it looks really good. It's essentially just the fantasy RPG bikini armor trope made into a figure. She has a nice apple red upper and lower body armor pieces with dark gray outlines, and she has some very nice metallic gray arm and leg armor pieces. It may look a bit generic, but that's the point of this line. It's made to be interchangeable with other Figmas. Her hair is a dark blue color that almost looks dark gray with a ponytail and bangs, and the head can work with other Figma bodies if you want to dress Makoto differently. She also has a red scarf that gives her a more complete look in my opinion. As usual with Figma, the face looks pretty much perfect and has no blemishes. Moving on to the articulation, she has the same joints most standard Figmas have and allow for a really good range of motion. It has ball-hinged shoulders, single-jointed elbows, ball-hinged hands. Her head can move up and down and fully rotate as well as tilt in most directions. Her upper torso has a really good range of motion and can move pretty far forward and back, more than most Figmas actually. Her lower torso is also a separate piece that gives some extra range of motion so you can get whatever pose you want easier. She has the standard Figma Y joint, and the legs can move forward and back as well as open pretty far. She has thigh swivels that blend in flawlessly because they are right where her thigh highs end. Her feet move forward and back, and she has ankle pivots. The front part of her feet can also rotate. Her head articulation can be slightly limited when using the scarf, but it's not too bad, it's just something worth mentioning. For accessories, she comes with a big sword, a round shield, the red scarf, an angry face, a pair of open hands, a pair of closed fists, and a pair of holding hands. She also comes with the standard Figma bag and display stand. Getting the holding hands to grab the shield can be a bit of a pain, but once it holds it, it has a firm grip and works pretty well. The sword hand, however, can be a bit loose since the sword handle is a bit thin, but she can still hold it well enough. The sword and shield both have really nice metallic paint and stand out while still somehow looking generic enough to be used with other figures. I'm very pleased with them. This figure stands at about 5 inches tall, and for a size comparison, here she is next to a standard Marvel Legend. Here she is next to a Figuarts. Here she is next to another Figma. Here she is next to some Mythic Legions in case you want to give her a fantasy ally or opponent. And here she is next to a Masters of the Universe Classics figure, since their non-humanoid characters can work as monsters for her to fight. Overall, I think this is a really good Figma to use in fantasy settings, and although she's made to be swapped and customized, she works very well as her own character. I actually had a lot of fun working on the gallery for this review with her, and I will certainly continue to take more pictures in the future, which you can find on my Instagram at Seda_noir. The only negatives I found with this figure are that the sword can fit a bit loosely on her hand, and the scarf can slightly stain her chest red. Also, she's a bit expensive for what she is. Although I'd recommend getting her, I would only suggest doing so if you find her for a decent price. This character works really well with fantasy creatures from other lines, and it gave me a chance to dig out some of my monsters that rarely see any use for photography. And since it's not a part of any series, it offers a lot of opportunities to do whatever you want with her. I really hope the Figma Styles line continues to make characters like this, but with other ideas, maybe even a sci-fi one someday. And if you also own the Twilight Princess Link Figma, his accessories work really well with this figure, especially the Ordon sword and scabbard as well as the hero's bow. I actually prefer how she looks with the smaller sword, but that's just my preference. And that's pretty much it for the review. Let me know what you think of this figure, and if you use her to swap parts with other Figmas as well in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching!